Is the EURUSD headed toward 1.1440, or will we get an early month bounce first? That's what we're talking about in today's video, and also the latest on the DXY. Hey everyone, my name is Justin Bennett, founder of Daily Price Action, and if you like this video, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that like button. So looking at the EURUSD, we have here on the daily time frame, the market obviously moving sideways for the past few months, all the way back here to June and July. It has been a very sideways market, very choppy recently. However, over the past couple of weeks, we are finally getting some movement here from the market, a little bit more favorable than what we've seen here in the past few months. And what I'm referring to here is areas like this that became very, very choppy, even like this through here. We're finally seeing some momentum develop here from the euro and also the US dollar. Now, for the euro, what I'm looking at here is obviously we have a range-bound market, and you've got this low down here around 114.40. Now, the reason I'm saying 114.40 and not this very low right here is you can see back here in this area when the euro actually broke below here. Okay, so you can see this little pivot right through here. So right around this level of 114.53 or so. You can see these highs back here. We had this low and the market broke below it, resistance here, and then reclaimed it. Now, during this reclaim, we had what is called a single print or imbalance develop here at 1.1440. A lot of times markets do tend to target these areas because they are imbalances in the market, meaning that it was very thinly traded through here. So if you go to something like a 30-minute time frame, move all the way back here, you can see where during this expansion, during this green candle here, you can see where the market never retested this area down here. Okay, so this entire region is an imbalance specifically at 114.40. So that is going to be a level to keep an eye on here in November. And as for the upside here for the euro, you can see where if we look at a 4-hour time frame, there are a few things happening here. First of all, we have this descending channel. Markets love symmetry, so you see this a lot when you get downtrends and uptrends as well, where you get the market moving with, levels like this up here. You draw a trend line. Chances are you can draw an opposite level here off of the low, and this is going to give you a lot more structure to the trade. Now, notice how the bottom of this channel comes in near that 1.1440 level. So this is going to be an area to watch for the euro. But the big question is, though, are we going to see the market just continue lower straight toward this area before we get a bounce? Or will we see some early November relief first? Because we do have some imbalances up here, buy-side imbalances as well here for the euro based on this recent drop. So very clearly here for the euro, you can see where we have resistance up here at these lows and closing prices on the 4-hour. So right back here, you can also see this 4-hour close as well, right around 115.50. So that's going to be resistance for the euro. We also have the November open right here at 115.28. Now above this, above these recent highs, you can see we have this unfinished auction here. We have two single prints up here below that 115.50 level. So again, the big question is, are we going to get the euro moving straight down here into this area before the bounce, or will we get that push up here into this level, reclaim the November open, push up here into this region before we get that rotation lower, right? And I think that the key here for the euro is going to be that November open, especially when you look at it where it comes in with these recent lows in the context of this recent price action. So looking here at the 1-hour time frame, essentially you have these lows back here during this congestion. We have this expansion here today, and this is going to be really the area to watch. If we get a break back above here, then you're looking at these areas through here, also that 115.50 level, right? This is going to be resistance up here for the euro. And if we get the push lower, then of course 114.40, that region down there is going to be the support area to watch for the euro. Okay, so basically you look at this here, we break above this pivot through here, also that November open. You're looking at a push back here into this area, and then potentially some more weakness from there. So we would sweep these highs and then potentially look for more weakness from this region up here around 115.50. Now, the other thing to keep in mind though, is if you look at the monthly time frame, right? And I know we're moving way out here. We're going from like the 1 hour and 4 hour to the monthly, but this is really critical, especially when you open a new month, because what you're going to notice here is that if we look at these candles, this green candle back here, this is September, and October moved lower. Right now, one thing that we could see in November is we have this low back here from that September low, or technically a fair value gap. Now, call it what you want, but typically markets come back to retest areas like this. So I think that this area up here around 115.80 or so is going to be the one to watch if we do get the break back above 115.50. Or I'm sorry, 116, 116.10, that's going to be the area to watch. Okay, so that's another factor here for the euro. Obviously much higher time frame here than something like the 1 hour or 4 hour. Okay, but the bottom line here before we move on to the DXY, the bottom line for the EURUSD is really that this is a downtrend, and there is no reason to be a buyer right here. There's no reason to be a buyer in this area. Even if we get a reclaim of the November open, in my opinion, that's really not a reason to be a buyer, because you still have the market holding below this area around 115.50. Now, if we were to get a reclaim of this at 115.50, then that could be the catalyst toward that move up there around 116, that September low. But as of right now, this is going to be your resistance area to watch. And again, you have support coming in down here around 114.40 or so. Now, moving on to the DXY, and if you guys are enjoying this content, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Also, if you want my help with your trading, including see my trades live, also VIP-only videos, and also annotated charts throughout the day, be sure to join us in Discord. See the link in the description of this video for 85% off. All right, so looking at the DXY, let's start here with the daily time frame, similar to the euro. In fact, you know what? I'm going to go to the two-week time frame, because this right here is a channel that we've discussed many times on this channel and website. So looking at the lows down here, 2011 off of these lows from here, you've got the recent lows over the past few months. Also, these highs up here going all the way back to 2009. So this was a huge equidistant channel here for the DXY. And this is why in this area over the past few months, I have been saying that you had to be really careful getting bearish on the US dollar, especially when you look here at something like the monthly time frame and look at the recent price action and compare it to this low back here. So look at this low down here for the DXY. Look at the low right now. It is very similar, very, very similar. You have the first low down here. The market retested that low. You essentially got a double bottom, and that was the bottom for the DXY. Now, very similar here. We had this low. We had the market test that low, and now it's coming off of that low. Okay, so again, very, very similar. Now, if this continues to play out, now it's a big if, but we have to consider the fact that it could just continue to mimic what we saw back here. So if it does, then what you'll notice here is that off of this high, right, you had 2 months essentially that got rejected from here. Now, looking at this high up here, okay, if we go to something like the 4-hour time frame, let's take a look at that scenario, what that could look like. Because for the DXY, right, you can see it is getting a little bit stretched here. However, we also have this high from back here, also an unfinished auction up there around 100.25. So if we get something that mimics that recent low or that last low, years ago, then we could be looking at a rejection from this high up here. This could be the one to watch here for the US dollar, right around 100.25, also that unfinished auction up there. Okay, so at the moment, guys, the market has taken out this single print back here at 99.88 that we've talked about in recent videos. So you can see that the market has taken that out. That doesn't mean, though, that this is a top. Like the euro, what this is going to come down to, in my opinion, is you look at something like the 1 hour. Again, the market's getting a little bit stretched here. Don't take this rising wedge, though, to mean that the market has to rotate lower. It does not. It could break out of this, head right up there toward that unfinished auction around 100.25. Now, what it's going to take, though, for a pullback, if we get a pullback from here, is not a rejection from here. That's not what we're looking for. If we get the market breaking back below that November open, also these lows back here, then that right there could be the catalyst for a push down here to sweep these lows into 99.3. Okay, because not only is 99.3 a critical level for the DXY, but you can also see where we have these single prints that have developed following this breakout. Okay, so we had this breakout back here. You can see this was the new support area for the DXY here. However, we never got a retest. We never got a retest of this area, and markets love to come back and finish up unfinished business like this. So we could see that here for the DXY. But again, it doesn't mean that we have to do it right now. The market could just continue to push higher into this high all the way back here at 100.25. And then from here, this is kind of the catalyst, right, for the US dollar to rotate lower, come back here, test these highs, potentially hit that 99.3 area, and then we get the bounce from there. So that is just one scenario that I'm eyeing. And honestly, if you look at the monthly time frame, that would line up with what we saw here at that last low years ago, which again, there's no guarantee that it happens the same way, but it would be very, very similar to this. You can see, again, this high back here, the rejection from here, the pullback, and then the breakout. So it would look like this. We've got those two lows. We've got the resistance up here that we just looked at around 100.25. You would have the rejection down here into those single prints, also potentially that September high. And then from there, you get the push higher into the rest of 2025, early 2026. Now, obviously, it doesn't have to happen this way. Anything can happen here in the markets. I don't know what's going to happen. Nobody does. But again, the price action does look very similar to that low that we got back here in 2021. So that is something to certainly pay attention to over the coming weeks and even months. Okay, but I think if you're looking for the opportunity here to play the range, then again, I think this area up here around 100.25 is going to be the one to watch. Potentially a pullback down there into 99.3 if we get it. Now, alternatively, if we see the DXY rotate lower before that, then again, I think that November open right here, okay, right off of these recent lows here on the 4 hour, this is going to be the one to watch. Lose this area down here, and we probably get that push down here to sweep that low, and then from there we get the bounce. Okay, so all in all, guys, markets are still very sideways, but as I said at the beginning of this video, they are starting to look a lot more constructive than what we've seen back here. You can see that in the price action. I mean, we are getting the market ranging here, and we're getting some nice movement over the past couple of weeks compared to price action like this back here that was really just very choppy and difficult to trade. So finally, some decent movements here from the Forex market, guys. I hope this video helped. If it did, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Also join us in Discord. Check out that link in the description, and be sure to trade safe out there. I will talk to you again tomorrow.